You know, all the headlines you see are about the latest, greatest AI model. But that's not where the real action is. The future is actually being hammered out in these private, super high-level debates. And today, we're going to give you a peek inside one of those communities to see what they're really talking about.
So, what are the smartest people in AI really arguing about when the doors are closed? You'd probably guess it's all about who's got the biggest, fastest model, right? Well, the reality is way, way more complicated. These conversations get heated, and they touch on everything from global power plays to the morality of how we even teach this stuff.
Okay, so we're going to jump into the 5 big debates that were raging this week. We've got the US versus China AI race, some major drama at Meta, a potential bubble in the chip market, a huge legal fight over copyright, and a really wild idea about the future of the classroom.
All right, first up, the big one, the great AI race. We're talking geopolitics and strategy here. This whole thing kicked off after a big venture capital firm posted about China supposedly taking this huge lead in AI patents.
And this really breaks down the two opposing views. On one side, you've got this narrative, mostly coming from US venture capitalists, that's basically a panic alarm. They're calling it a Sputnik moment and saying we need to pour more money into this now. But then there's the other side of the conversation, a more nuanced reality. It suggests China isn't even playing the same game we are.
And this quote from inside the community just nails that skepticism. All this "China is winning" feels a bit like, we need more money. I mean, it basically calls out the alarm bells as maybe, just maybe, a clever fundraising tactic.
So, the counter-argument is super interesting. It's that China's real play isn't to build the single most powerful AI model. Their strategy is way smarter. They're taking awesome open-source models, like Meta's Llama, and just getting them into the hands of millions of people through everyday apps. They're not trying to win the technology race. They're trying to win the adoption race. And in the long run, whoever controls the everyday applications, they control the data, the user habits, the whole economic ecosystem. And that could be way more powerful than just having the best tech.
Okay, so moving on from geopolitics to some good old-fashioned human drama inside Meta. There's all this speculation that AI legend Yann LeCun might be on his way out, and it's kicked off a huge debate about his motives and, well, the whole nature of these tech geniuses.
And the conversation basically split right down the middle. One group sees this as a total political move. They're pointing to friction over LeCun's hardcore open-source-only stance, clashing with meta strategy and maybe some political differences with leadership. But the other side is defending him, saying, hey, hold on, he's a brilliant scientist who's maybe just a bit tactless.
Yeah, the people defending him are basically saying, we can't just label guys like him, or even Zuckerberg, as pure evil. The description that popped up was high IQ, low tact, which is pretty memorable. The point is, these are the people who've given us incredible foundational tools like PyTorch, React, and now Llama. So the argument goes, judging these complex figures in simple black and white terms just misses the huge value they've actually created.
All right, from the drama inside the company, let's get into the world of high finance. This next debate feels like something straight out of The Big Short. It's an analysis that sparked a huge argument about whether the entire AI hardware boom is just a massive bubble, built on some pretty shaky accounting.
And at the center of this whole thing is just one number, 5 to 6 years. That's how long the big cloud companies, think Amazon, Google, say their multi-billion-dollar AI chips are useful for on their accounting books. But the big question is that number real? Or is it a complete fantasy?
So here's the clash. One side is screaming fraud. They're saying, with how fast AI is moving, these chips are basically obsolete in 2 or 3 years, tops. So depreciating them over 5 or 6 years is just cooking the books. But the rebuttal is pretty practical. It says, look, that rapid replacement cycle is just marketing hype from the chip makers. For a lot of users, older chips are still perfectly useful and making them money well past that 3-year mark. Okay, so while some are fighting about financial rules, our fourth debate dives into the legal rules. This one got started after a German court ruled against OpenAI in a copyright case. But wow, it escalated quickly into a much bigger conversation about data, who's responsible for what, and whether these new regulations can even work. You can actually see how this debate just snowballed. It starts with one specific court case. That then gets tied to this broader feeling that AI models are just stealing data to get trained. From there, someone brings up this shocking analogy. If a company like Meta is reportedly making 10% of its revenue from scams on its platform, what hope is there really? And it all leads to this huge fundamental question. Can laws like the EU's Digital Services Act actually keep up? Or will the bad actors always find a loophole?
All right, from legal frameworks, let's move to educational ones. Our final debate is maybe the most provocative of them all. It seriously questions the very foundation of how we're teaching the next generation about AI. This was all kicked off by a professor's pretty radical idea for business schools.
And here's the bombshell statement that got everyone talking. The idea is that in the age of LLMs, using precious, expensive classroom time to teach basic technical stuff is now immoral and a waste of time. Why? Because an AI could explain it just as well, maybe even better.
So what's the solution they're proposing? Basically, flip the entire educational model on its head. All that foundational knowledge, deliver it through videos and AI tutors that students can use on their own time. Then you free up that incredibly valuable class time for the stuff that humans are uniquely good at, actually building product prototypes, debating corporate AI strategy, and wrestling with the huge geopolitical big picture.
So, when you look at all 5 of these debates, from geopolitics all the way to the ethics of a classroom, a clear picture emerges. We've got a technology that is evolving way faster than our rules, our ethics, and even our schools. It makes you realize the biggest question isn't just who's going to win the AI race, but who and what is going to get left behind in the dust.